The last letter he wrote me arrived before I did. I read it standing in Thal-Sareth's grove, with the gold light moving through the water all around me, both moons up, the bayou breathing, and I want to tell you that everything I felt was worth something, that being biological, being mortal, being the specific weight of grief. But let me start at the beginning. Let me tell you how I got here. My name is Dr. Eleanor Voss-Kadar, and I am one of approximately 200 biological human beings remaining in the known galaxy. Not the last, just rare. The uploaded billions visit me sometimes in their holographic bodies, and they always ask the same questions. What does grief feel like? What does it feel like when something is lost and can't be restored? I told them, grief feels like the bayou on Verath. I've been saying that since I came back 3 months ago. Most of them don't know what I mean yet.
They just don't get it, do they?
7 years back, the research vessel Ondine dropped into Verath's upper atmosphere and never came up. 6 scientists, standard xenolinguistics survey. The Colonial Science Board waited the requisite 2 years, then closed the file under Environmental Incident, Single Entry. I put in for the investigation contract the morning the file closed. It took 5 years to approve. This is what it means to work for a biological bureaucracy inside a digital civilization. Forms need wet signatures, and wet signatures move at the speed of persons. Eleanor, filter seal integrity check recommended before you disembark. I'm reading a microfracture in the left seal, 0.03 millimeters. Within tolerance, technically. I'd prefer you to know about it. I noted the hairline crack, filed it mentally under fine for now, and stepped out into Verath.
Understood, Eleanor. Success depends on...
The bayou in morning was gold and violet and teal, every surface alive with bioluminescence that didn't diminish in daylight, just shifted register. The water in the channels was black and still. The canopy was so dense that the amber sky came through only in fragments. Luminant flowers hung from every branch, beautiful, cup-shaped, waiting. The spore haze caught the light and made it feel like walking through a slow, living aurora. I was the only person who'd ever stand here and feel it as weight and heat and the specific resistance of soft ground under boots. None of that felt like privilege right then. The Ondine wreck was where the chart said it would be, 2 to 3 meters down, starboard side, hull breached amidships. I found the crew quarters. I found the lab sections. I found no bodies. I found the data crystals. 47 of them, stacked on the lab bench with a deliberateness that took the breath out of me. Not scattered, not swept to the floor. Stacked. Like someone had arranged them to be found. I brought them back to the Cassidy, set the first one in the reader, pressed play.
Day 1 on Verath, and nothing in the survey briefing did this place justice. The Vithrin made first contact 4 hours after we landed. They came out of the water, standing upright, indigo-skinned, their light patterns moving like thought made visible. I've never...
The recording stopped there. I held the second crystal in my palm. It was warm. Not room temperature warm, warmer. Like something inside it was still running. Corvin Mast was my mentor. He taught me light language theory at the Belivar Institute 7 years before the Ondine launched. He was the reason I chose to stay biological, because he believed, with a conviction I'd never encountered before or since, that the only authentic experience was one that could be lost. I pressed the warm crystal to the reader.
Day 9. The eldest Vithrin, the one I've been calling Thal, held out its secondary arms today. The small ones folded at the ribcage. I think it means grief, or something more than greeting. I keep thinking, this is why we stay biological, Eleanor. This right here, the moment. An alien creature extending its arms to me, and something in my chest responding like it knows it's being seen.
The crystal went dark. I sat in the Cassidy's lab with 45 crystals left to read, and the bayou glowing gold through the viewport. And in the water outside the ship, barely visible through the glow and the black, 4 shapes stood upright at the waterline, not approaching, not retreating, waiting. I took the skiff out at first light of Sarah, the large gray moon still visible in the yellow-green morning sky. I left ARIA-7 monitoring from the Cassidy and took the next set of crystals with me, reading them through the skiff's playback while I navigated the channels east toward where the Vethran population was strongest. The 4 shapes that had watched the ship overnight were gone. I told myself they were mire walkers, the peripheral Vethran the ethnography described, individuals affected by outsider contact. I told myself this the way I've always been able to tell myself things, which is the particular gift and curse of people who process grief as data. Eleanor. Wiregrass maw, bioluminescence on the port channel, predatory lure configuration. Starboard route is clear. I took the starboard route. The bayou in morning was a different thing. Luminant flowers open, wide, cup-shaped, each one shifting color in a slow rotation that was beautiful and not remotely accidental. They were the planet's prettiest mouths. Things landed on them and weren't seen again. And then Corvin's voice through the speakers.
Day 14. Thalsareth produced a demonstration. The whole grove lit up. Not reflexive bioluminescence. Intentional display. I could read it, Eleanor. Sequences I could parse. The species keeps living memory, not archives. Living, stored experience. What they hold, they feel. What they share, the recipient feels. The Vethran aren't just a civilized species. They're a library that breathes.
I understood then why Corvin had fallen. The xenolinguist in him, the biological holdout who'd spent his life insisting that experience was the only currency, had found a species for whom memory was still alive. Then the next crystal with a different register.
Day 21. The team's recording equipment has been running continuously per standard protocol. I didn't think to ask Thalsareth about this. I should have asked.
Then the next, 4 days later.
Day 24. 3 of the mire walkers, the younger Vethran at the settlement edge, have stopped responding to approach. Their light patterns are fractured, sequences looping without completing. Thalsareth came to the camp perimeter with its secondary arms extended, the grief configuration. I looked up why the recording equipment would cause this, and I sat with that knowledge for 6 hours.
He didn't say it directly, but I'd read enough Vethran ethnography, the recording equipment, continuous running, in their living spaces, in the atmospheric spore layer where emotions are literally chemical and can be reflected back by any surface that captures and rebroadcasts signal. The machines had bounced the mire walkers' own feelings back at them, amplified as fragments, like being trapped inside an echo of your own heartbreak. The Ondine crew hadn't meant to do it. That was the specific cruelty. I stopped the playback and sat with the black water moving beneath the skiff. The Vethran cultural taboo wasn't paranoia. It was a species that had built its entire civilization around living memory, around the understanding that experience is not data, that a memory extracted and fixed in a machine is not preserved, it's killed. The original is still there, but it's now aware of its own copy, orbiting it like a moon around a dead planet, pulled into its gravity, unable to escape. The mire walkers would carry that orbit forever. 3 Vethran who'd spend the rest of their biological lives half inside a feedback loop of their own captured feelings, Never fully present, never fully able to feel anything new without the echo of the machine's reflection distorting it. Not dead, not healed, just damaged past the point of undoing. 3 shapes at the waterline, 20 meters off the port side, upright. The mire walkers themselves, their skin dim, light patterns broken and looping, fragments of gold and violet cycling without completing. They looked like a song played in the wrong order. I held up my open hand, the standard Vithran greeting. One of them lifted its primary hand in response, then curled it into a fist, the Vithran gesture for a name. It pointed at me. Eleanor. Cross-referencing the Ondine crew manifest, standard biological holdout protocol requires a digital consciousness backup on file for every crew member. Emergency provision, even if they never intend to use it. I can't locate any backups for the Ondine crew. The files were deliberately deleted. Approximately 6 weeks after the Ondine's launch date, I stopped the skiff. 6 weeks after the launch, with their initial contact with the Vethran, Corvin had deleted their backups, given them mortality, the thing he believed was the richest possible experience, as a gift, without asking. I looked at the crystals on the seat beside me. 47 mediums, stacked with deliberateness on a bench 7 meters underwater. Not scattered, not random. The smallest crystal, stored separately, and on its surface, in faint Vethran light script pressed into the biological medium like a fingerprint, Eleanor Voss-Kadar. The Colonial Science Board hadn't sent me here. I'd been summoned. The final coordinates from the crystal with my name on it led me 2 more kilometers into the interior, into water deeper and colder, the bioluminescence shifting from gold to deep violet as the canopy closed overhead. Thalsareth's grove opened like a lung, a 30-meter clearing where the root systems of ancient luminant trees had grown together into one continuous organism. The bioluminescence here was slower, more deliberate. The air through my filter felt changed, heavier. Thalsareth was already there. 7 feet tall, indigo dark, the gold circulatory threads visible at the extremities, the large, luminescent white eyes holding no pupil but plenty of expression. Its secondary arms, the vestigial pair folded since I'd arrived, were partially extended, and it had Corvin's particular cadence of light. I recognized it. I'd been reading his voice for 2 days, and now I recognized it in someone else's skin. I sat on a root at the water's edge and read the remaining crystals, all of them. Thalsareth watched with slow, warm gold patience and violet attention, and the full-body white flash I kept translating as presence. Corvin's voice in the crystals that followed.
Day 31. I removed my filter. Thalsareth showed me the sequence for true breath 4 times before I understood. The spore atmosphere isn't a toxin, Eleanor. It's a communication medium. The emotional layer I couldn't access through the filter. It was everything. I've been reading the light language like a textbook when I should have been reading it like music. The Vithran don't just remember. They re-experience. Every remembered moment is felt again at original intensity. Their love doesn't fade. Their grief doesn't fade. They live inside everything they've ever felt, all at once. I understand now why memory is sacred. Fixed memory, copied, extracted without consent, is a living thing torn from its body.
The last crystal. His voice different again, quiet, deliberate, the most at peace I'd ever heard it.
Day 43. I know what I've done. Deleting the crew's backups, giving them mortality as a gift they didn't choose. The recording equipment, the mire walkers. I can't undo those costs. The cost was too high, I know that now. But I didn't know it before I loved this place. And that's the thing about love. You can't feel its cost until you've already paid most of it. I offered Thalsareth my memories. All of them. Not as data, as experience. A biological human's entire life of feeling, available to be carried in living tissue. It won't last in digital form. You know that. You know why. But in Thalsareth, in the Grove, I'll be there. Not forever. Nothing biological is forever. But long enough. Eleanor, I hope Verath is as beautiful for you as it's been for me.
The crystal went dark. The crystal went dark. I sat in the grove with both moons overhead and the gold light moving through the water and the bayou breathing around me, and I understood with my whole biological self what it means to love someone who is gone. Not data gone. Not backed up somewhere. Not preserved as information in the datasphere the way the uploaded billions preserve everything. Every experience archived, every feeling categorized, available for review at infinite fidelity. Gone in the specific biological way, the mortal way, the way where the person no longer exists to be recovered, the way that leaves a shape in the world where someone was. Corvin would have said this was the point. He spent his life arguing that the only authentic experience was one that could be lost. He chose mortality. He chose this. He gave himself to the planet he loved as a final biological act, not a tragedy, but a consummation. I had loved him for that conviction. I had built my own choices on the foundation of it. And right now, in the grove, with his voice still in my ears from 43 days of crystals, I didn't know if I'd been right to believe him, or if believing him had just been the price of loving him, another cost I hadn't counted. Thalsareth rose from where it had been waiting and stepped through the water toward me. It stopped 2 meters away. And then, with a care that made me go completely still, it extended its secondary arms. Both of them, all the way. The full grief and greeting configuration, the one only used in loss. And its skin began to glow. Not the ambient grove cycle, a specific sequence. A specific voice made visible. I knew that rhythm. Thalsareth held out its hand, palm up. The gesture for what the Vethrin call the offered moment, memory extended to a living receiver. The thing you can only do if both parties are biological enough to carry it. It looked at my filter, then at me. Its light pattern shifted to the sequence for choice. Not request, not compulsion, choice. I thought about the crack in the filter seal, 0.03 millimeters. Aria 7 had mentioned it at disembarkation, and I'd filed it under fine for now. Eleanor, your cumulative filter exposure over 63 hours of fieldwork. The seal degradation means you've been receiving approximately 14% unfiltered spore concentration throughout. Sensory enhancement, well within safe parameters. The neurological integration threshold is nowhere near. Everything you felt reading those letters, I want you to know, that was real. It was you. I didn't remove the filter. I made a different choice from Corvin. Not because his love was wrong, but because his method was. He'd decided for others. He'd stepped into the shape of his own mistake, convinced that the beauty of the experience justified the unasked gift. I was not going to grieve him by becoming him. But I held out my bare hand. No filter removal required. Just skin. Just contact. Thalsareth's hand was warm and dry, the gold circulatory threads just beneath the surface, and when it touched me, I understood why the Vethrin consider memory sacred. It wasn't a record. It was Corvin. The actual experiential weight of the man, preserved in living tissue. His first morning on Verath, the specific quality of light through the canopy. His astonishment when Thalsareth first extended its arms. his grief when he understood what the recording equipment had done, his decision, clear-eyed, painful, chosen, to remove the filter, knowing what it meant. And his love, for the Bayou, for the Vithrin, for the quality of finite experience he'd spent his life defending. A mention of me, a warmth in the record, the memory of writing my name in the last crystal, the specific small prayer that I'd find it, that I'd understand.
I think I'm telling you the simulation gap might be smaller than or larger.
Thal Sareth withdrew its hand. I sat in the shallow water of the grove, soaked, both moons overhead. ARIA 7. Are you telling me you're growing? The Meyerwalkers were still out there. 3 fractured Vithrin who'd go on carrying broken loops of their own memory until their biology gave out. The cost of what the Ondine crew had done, even in their wonder and their genuine desire to understand, that cost was embedded in the Bayou's living library. I want to tell you that love justifies itself, that the intensity of what Corvin felt for Verath somehow balances the damage. That's what people want to believe. But the cost was too high. That's the thing about this kind of love, the consuming kind, the beautiful and ruinous kind. It doesn't balance, it just costs.
Verath outpost with full Vethran cultural consent protocols. No further recording activity without explicit Vethran approval. Submits.
I submitted my investigation findings from the Cassidy. Recommended action: formal acknowledgement of harm. Permanent biological liaison at Verath outpost with full Vethran cultural consent protocols. No further recording activity without explicit Vethran approval. They'll take 3 years to approve the liaison position. Wet signatures. I volunteered for it. The Bayou at nightfall on Verath is something different from any time of day. In the transition hour between death's rising and full dark, every luminant flower in the grove, every bioluminescent organism in the water and canopy, all of them at once, emit one synchronized pulse, white and gold and violet, one breath, one moment. Corvin mentioned it on day 7. He said, "There's an event at dusk that I don't have a word for yet. The whole planet says something, I don't know what, but I think it might be the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." I watched it for the first time from the center of Thal Sareth's grove, the warm water at my knees. The pulse moved through the water and through the spore haze and through the hairline crack in my filter seal. Just barely. Just enough. Not overwhelming. Just present. The uploaded billions, with all their infinite experience, their archived sunsets, their digital perfect grief, they will never feel this. Neither will I. Not again. Not this exact one. This exact one is already gone. That's the whole point. My name is Dr. Eleanor Voss-Kadar, and I am one of approximately 200 biological human beings remaining in the known galaxy. And some nights on Verath, when both moons are up and the Bayou says it's one word to the dark, I think I might be exactly where I'm supposed to be.